at this point.
All right, where's the rest of our board?
Well, it's 6 minutes.
Okay. I did something to my shoulder last night.
And so let me. I will admit all.
Threatening. Have you heard that my parents have put their,
Steve just told me that.
yeah. Yeah, so the whole idea of, like not voicing threats out in the open is kind of like a good reminder.
Mhm. So they're going to Cedar Hill?
Yes, that's the plan.
That's great.
I mean, they have to do their medical assessment on Wednesday.
Mhm.
But there's an apartment, a 1-bedroom in the north wing that it wasn't quite ready for viewing. My mother didn't want the corner one because it was the corner right next to where the desk is and the door coming in and the parking lot right there. She didn't want that much commotion
Okay.
around. So that one was available, so we went and saw that one.
To get a
Which is
sense
the
of the
same
size.
size as the
Uh-huh.
one, hi, we're so happy to see you.
Needed
They set up
needed an
5
audience.
benches.
I'll make it look like there's a lot. Yeah, so we went and saw that one,
Uh-huh.
and, the people whose family were taking care of clearing up the one that my parents are gonna get. Hadn't gotten
Judy,
the
maybe that one's
residents,
better. As long as I don't.
belongings out
Right,
of
that's
there
the
yet.
problem. Keep it on the.
And then they
No,
have to
keep it
go
up
through
here.
maintenance, he's gotta do their thing, they gotta do the cleaning, and then. We're supposed to get a phone call when they actually are ready to tour that room,
Right.
because they can't accept a deposit on the room until it's officially ready to be toured.
Okay.
So
Are
I
you-
told her, I said, give me a call, I'll be there with $1,000 within a half an hour.
Okay.
Hey, Ross.
Hello. Do you wanna
Wow,
do minutes
you're
and this
very
thing later?
appreciative
Do you wanna do the hearing first?
We'll do that later.
Is that
Yeah.
cool for the summer?
I was in a wedding this summer.
Oh.
It was part of the dress code.
All right,
Okay.
we are ready to open the hearing to review our newly completed master plan. I'm gonna
Can,
do,
can everybody in Zoom see the share on the screen? Is that working?
Yes, it is, Steve.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, yes, it is.
Thank you.
okay. So I'm gonna do a brief overview and then we're gonna kind of just go through the chapters and look at recommendations. Some of these chapters are not heavy with recommendations, goals and recommendations. Many of them are repeating recommendations from the previous plan. But anyway, first I wanted to introduce everyone so everyone knows who's here. This is Eric Supton. You all know Steve, Ross Wood, Elise Angelillo, Mike Sutherland. I'm Jane Stevenson. So we're glad that we at least have a few people who are interested in hearing about this. It's been a lot of work. We've been at it for 2 years and we are glad that it's done. We hope. Just to tell you how it starts, we were due to update our master plan. The last one was done in 2013. So in 2024, we designed a new community survey to obtain information from residents about their feelings about the community, what they like, what they don't like, what they see in the future for Plainfield. What aspects might be changed or improved. And after we get the results of the survey in July of 2024, we then started to go through each chapter and just work the process. We had over 325 respondents to the survey, which was a pretty good yield, as they say, about surveys. We were quite obviously would have liked to have more people respond to it, but we were happy with that number. It was about the same as it had been in the last survey. So the results were quite similar to the previous surveys that were done in 93, 96, and 2006. And the survey results really become the basis of our goals and recommendations. So just to give you, we're not going to go through the whole survey, but just to kind of give you some of the highlights of the survey. 91% of people in town were satisfied with the quality of life in town. 84% say they would like Plainfield to remain rural with large areas of forest and farmland. Only 11% wanted to see the town more developed. They are satisfied with the current rate of growth. And in general, the comments were that Plainfield should remain principally a residential community with an emphasis on responsible land use, natural conservation, and preserving the distinct rural character of the town. In fact, since 2000, land use patterns have changed very little in Plainfield. In fact, there's been a modest increase in agricultural lands going from 8.6 to 9%. Land in current use has remained virtually the same since 2010. Residents had articulated very strong feelings about preserving our natural resources, particularly water resources, wildlife habitat, and conservation. The narrative comments, people, once they completed the Survey Monkey comments, there was room for people to just comment, make other comments. And some of the narrative comments were that the town should encourage low intensity, low density commercial enterprises that have minimal impact on the rural character of the community or the historic character of the village districts. Large scale or high impact commercial enterprises should be discouraged or even prohibited as detrimental to the community's character, infrastructure, natural resources, and the undue burden they place on community services. Commercial development should take place within or adjacent to village services and infrastructure, i.e. on major roads. Non-residential development should not detract from the existing rural character of the community, particularly in the village centers. Residents would like to see more small businesses in town, service businesses, restaurants, inns, what do you call that? Accommodation. But we're looking for businesses that would have less than 10 employees. We'll talk about this more when we're in this chapter, but affordability, under the economic chapter, affordability was a concern for 42% of residents, respondents. The town's median income increased from 86 to 92.3 in the last 10 years and surpasses Sullivan County and the state. There are currently 433 households reporting income over $100,000, 214 reporting under 50,000. Per capita income is 44.8. 3.8 are living below the poverty line, a drop from 5.7 10 years ago. By the federal standard, there are no children living in poverty. But another indicator of need is what's called economically disadvantaged student enrollment rate that includes students from families below 185,000 of the federal poverty level. By that measure, 6.56% of Plainfield elementary children are disadvantaged. Only 2.1% of residents are receiving public assistance. The other, of course, really hot button issue for us is housing and affordability of housing. The median value of a house in town is now $464,000. An average of 6 new single-family homes are built each year. Almost everyone agrees the town should encourage additional affordable housing opportunities, but there are multiple reasons why large-scale residential development or multifamily development is unlikely in Plainfield. Enlarging the VR zones or reducing minimum lot size in the RR zone might have a modest impact, but the major barrier is the cost of new construction and the lack of municipal water and sewer on the Plainfield side of town. Our ADU ordinance, which we adopted in 2014, has created 20 new units of presumed to be more affordable housing. But so that's the good news. The bad news is that the monthly rent in town has skyrocketed for rentals. We are now rank 3rd in the Upper Valley behind Norwich and Hanover for the cost of rental properties. And about 22, I think, % of our housing stock is rental, which is higher than we might have thought. So that's kind of the overview, and we'll go through each chapter. We hope we get this up. We can get this up. There's a lot of data in this, and a lot of the work was updating all of the graphs. I want to be sure that everybody can really see this.
Okay, which one you want to start with, Jim?
Well,
Right.
historic resources is a very quick chapter. It's just basically that you could click it up, but basically recognizing that we are unique in the fact that we have a very rich architectural history, and most of our properties in both villages are historic properties. There hasn't been a lot of loss of historic properties, and we want to continue to support land use regulations that ensure that there is careful development in areas with historic buildings, archaeological sites. And one of the recommendations was to identify sites for historic markers and replace the markers that need it, which is a kind of an old recommendation. But our goal is to try to preserve the historic character of the town, and we feel lucky that compared to many other towns, our main streets in both towns still have a large stock of historic housing. And also our public buildings are historic. So that's historic resources. We'll give that pretty short shrift. Mike's going to talk about natural resources.
Yeah, well, natural resources, the natural resources chapter is one. I don't think we did much different for the other chapters there. Tend to be pretty much the same with updated figures. The natural resources chapter has changed quite a bit. And that's primarily because the Conservation Commission worked with a consultant to produce a new natural resource inventory. And that document, or those documents, provide probably the best survey of what we actually have. That was the purpose of it. And so we have included those by reference. And if you go to the town website, you'll find that there are actually two links to NRI documents. One is to the produced paper copy itself, which is about 80 pages and is very detailed in terms of flora and fauna and so forth. And the other is to a summary document that has maps in it that are interactive, that you can change to focus on particular aspects of the resources that we have, and where they have some concurrence maps that show the gathering of multiple important issues in a particular place. And that essentially defines the areas that the Conservation Commission are most focused on in preserving and managing. We are doing some of the things that are been recommended in there, particularly in the maintenance, town maintenance, to support the natural resources. We have created buffers in our buffer zones. That was done after the 2006-07 inventory, natural resource inventory. And we have a culvert management program, replacement program that is in the works to upgrade the culvert sizes to accommodate for larger storms and those kinds of things. We had an instance recently to demonstrate from our perspective, the good power of buffers. It limits the amount of land in a particular area that can be included in creating lots. And the buffered areas around the water resources are not to be included in that. And the result is that in one program one proposal that was presented to us, the owner had to refigure some of the things and reduce the number of lots, because they really didn't have enough land that was sufficiently able to absorb water and so forth, on the lots. And, you know, from the landowner's perspective, that may not have been the best thing, but from our perspective, the buffers were doing exactly what they were supposed to do, which is to make sure that, those areas are not overdeveloped. So, I would point out that we have an ongoing issue that is not in the natural resource inventory, because we're really not sure what to do with it yet. We probably, ought to reference it somewhere. The state has changed the rules about class 6 roads. Plainfield for years has prevented development on class 6 roads. And the state has basically said to us that we no longer are able to do that. And what that means is that inevitably there is going to be development along those roads as people are able to create, buildable lots where they weren't before. And that will have an impact on, one of the things that people like about Plainfield, which is on the contiguous land masses that allow for, game corridors and so forth. So there will be changes from that. We are not sure at this point, you know, what that's going to be or what, options we have to help manage that process. So that's sort of in the works. Anyway, I would really encourage you to look at the website, and particularly if you want to read the whole document, great, but look at the summary document that has the maps in it that you can manipulate.
Yeah, go play with the map.
Go play with the maps. It is worth doing. It'll tell you a lot about Plainfield.
And I think that project was, it's about 18,000 that they spent, and that money came from current use penalties, the conservation fund.
I think it's important that people know that
Which,
because,
you know, the conservation fund is funded from development costs, and then the Conservation Commission used some of that money to have this natural inventory done.
yeah,
And we were involved, I say we, pointing at Mike, in the very first one, and you've been very complimentary of this one. You said this one is very, very well done.
I think it is. And the first one that we did in 2007, as normal, we were all volunteers and not necessarily experts. And we put together a document that was perhaps a lot more general than this one is, but that's the confidence that we had. And we felt very good about that. But the reality is, these folks have done a detailed inventory that we can use as a marker for future change and things like that. So I think it does have value.
All right, maybe we can, we're gonna go to the housing, chapter. If you can scroll down, Steve, so people can see it. Maybe go up a little higher so we can just read that first opening paragraph. It says. No, I meant, never mind, community survey results down related to housing.
Okay.
Yeah,
John?
so, you can see this, this was an open-ended question. That required a narrative response. 275 people responded and 47 skipped it. About 80 of those responses mentioned housing, and almost all of those referred to the need for affordable housing. But of these responses, there was also a general consensus to maintain the rural character of the town. There was a question, question 7, how concerned are you about being able to afford to live in Plainfield in the future? This question obviously includes cost of living, not just housing, but a large component of that is the cost of housing. 42% of the respondents said they were very concerned, 34% slightly concerned, and 24% not concerned. The concerns that people had about more additional housing in town was loss of rural or small town character, loss of wildlife habitat, and traffic. What should Plainfield do? Question 10, what should Plainfield do to improve the quality, availability, and affordability of housing? Of the options provided, the highest response at 44.6% was to allow a higher density of housing, whether smaller lots or more units per acre, in locations that are served by water and sewer. Which of course essentially limits us to Meriden Village and some routes out on Bean Road. You know, Plainfield, as I think you all know, does not have municipal water and sewer, and that is a huge barrier to development on the Plainfield side of town.
Jane, how does the ADU thing that passed last year to affect this?
It does. Because, I mean,
You can build an ADU on any single family lot,
right,
so that kind of takes care of part of that problem.
well, it takes care, I mean, we've had like 20 or 21 go up since we passed the ordinance, but, I mean, I think that.
And but since last year, since the new.
No, since we did the ordinance. I don't think there's been any increase in applications. because of
No, I
that,
mean,
no.
everybody can do one. And they
Right.
can be attached or detached, and they can be larger than what our original ordinance allowed. But the reality is, we do some, but most people who have homes in town choose not to.
Right,
Right, it's very expensive to build, you can't sell it separately, so the person living in it is gaining no equity. And it's, I mean. The reality is probably half of the 20 that you spoke about, which are absolutely available now and in the future to be rented, are probably guest houses at very high-end properties in the town. That is a very common ADU, is to convert a barn or an outbuilding or build a new building that serves as a place for your guests to stay. And so I don't know that it's, you know, it is the easiest thing that can be done to allow more housing stock. But the barriers to entry are still the same, septic systems and foundations, you spend $100,000 right there.
Right.
And so it's just, it's hard to, you know, we see them, but not tremendous numbers of.
Do you know how many are being used as short-term rentals for Airbnb?
We don't, because right now we're the wild, wild west with Airbnbs. I mean, the best we could do was Google Plainfield and try to rent a place and see what you got on
No
Airbnb.
regulation at all, you don't have to. talk to
We
you.
haven't, not that we shouldn't, but right now, we have no regulations on short-term rentals and lots of regulations on long-term rentals, which I think. It's like the taxi versus the Uber, right? The people that have built apartment buildings say, well, then those people should have the same rules as we do. But right now, we don't, that's just the reality of it.
you wanna keep scrolling down? Everybody watching on Zoom, can you see this graph clearly?
If you're not.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
You can,
I
okay.
can.
All right,
I
so,
can see it.
okay, thank you. So anyway, you can see we have a pretty significant amount of housing stock that was built prior to 1940. Not, well, yeah. And there have been periods where little was built, and, you know, right now, with six building permits a year, our growth is very steady but slow, and that really hasn't changed a lot in the last couple of decades, so.
Right, I mean, literally, the death of Peony Goodwin changed dramatically the subdivision potentials in Plainfield. It absolutely did. I mean, look in the files. Peony Goodwin and Wayne McCutcheon did more subdivisions in Plainfield than anybody, but land was available. You could log it, you could subdivide it, and you could make money that way, and Mr. Goodwin was good at doing that. But since his passing, Baines Road is your project, right? 16 units or 12 or whatever's up there, but in the end. But that's, yeah, I mean, what we see as subdivisions are onesies and twosies, usually either to sell or for a kid. The Vendito project would be an exception to that. He has begun to sell the lots, but very slowly, you know, 1 or 2 a year kind of thing.
Okay, you wanna keep scrolling down? That just shows the building permits. You can see we're down to 6. There were peaks in the 80s and in the early 2000s where there were a number more, but okay, keep going. Well, this shows the accessory dwelling units, from 2019, you see them. This one is, it's still a mystery to me, frankly, but it does show a high number of vacant units. 70 vacant units, which I kept challenging the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee people, because it just seemed crazy to me that there were 70 vacant units, but they insist that that data is correct, that includes houses.
They're getting it from the US Census.
They're getting it from the
So
census.
however,
but-
their data collectors,
Right,
if they went 3 times and knocked and nobody was at the house,
right,
they may have said that one's
but
vacant.
some of them are houses that are on the market, that are unoccupied while they're on the market. Some of them could be ADUs that are unoccupied at the moment. But it seems like an unusually high number to me, and I don't quite know how to account for it, frankly. But that's what they tell us, so. So this shows you percentages of our housing stock. So single family 85%, multifamily 9.2, and manufactured or other 5.3. And we'll keep going, and that's the next section is also about age of housing stock, which we've already talked about. Yeah, so that's pretty much the same as what we had in previous graph. So, you'll see 13% is renter occupied of the housing. And the people per household are still basically the same, less than 3. 2.63, so a lot of people are living in houses alone also.
Right, I mean, certainly one of the things we have seen, and we know it from the town office, is that we don't have houses full of young children anymore, right? We have houses owned by couples who are either retired or have already had their kids or have one kid, one child, and so we don't have our numbers, most of our houses are not being lived in by large families, and our school census suggests that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. The median house cost in 2020 was $327, but now it's estimated at $464. So it shows you the enormous increase in values in the last 10 years. This graph compares us to Hanover and Lebanon. Obviously, our housing prices are higher than Lebanon, but not as high as Hanover. No surprises there. And the last sentence, it says that the median monthly rent in Plainfield in 2020 was $1,295, or 78% higher than it was in 2000.
And it's that much higher again.
Right.
And it's that much higher again.
Right, we would suggest, commonly known in town, that if you're renting a single family house, you start at $3,000 a month.
Right.
I mean, which just seems absolutely insane,
Right.
but 35, 37. Haven't heard many 4s, but lots of 3s,
Mhm.
3,000 something is the going rate for a, 2 or 3 bedroom home in Plainfield that's available to be rented,
Okay.
and.
So again, the recommendations here, I'm no surprise to we consider how we could allow higher density development in the rural residential zone. And also through our ordinances to encourage conversion of existing structures and buildings to apartments. So some of the larger homes in the villages, or not just in the villages, but that have the potential to be converted to apartments, we would want to encourage that, but that's not the trend that we're seeing.
Right, what we see in the office is that we know that the residential code changes dramatically when you get 3 or more units.
Right,
2 is easy, 2 is basically building a single family house and you add in a little bit of additional fire protection. When you get to 3 or more units, the code is much, much more difficult. And so if you talk to our local builders who are trying to convert houses, they say the cost of everything is expensive, and then the code requirements to convert the house is expensive. And they build a 2-family house, or, you know.
right. Any questions any questions about the housing chapter? Because it is probably the most important of all of them. In some ways.
We see the folks again, Steve.
Oh, don't do that, I'm gonna make it all go away. I don't know if we'll ever see him again. Oh, I think it's here.
If you hit the grid,
This one?
yeah.
You like that one? There we go.
Anyone have any questions about the housing chapter?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
It's Jordy Green. Has any study been done of what I would assume is the very expensive cost of expanding the water and sewage infrastructure? Like, has that even been looked at, or it's just so outrageous we can't even consider it?
I would say not looked at, Jordan, in the sense that Plainfield Water District, which was private, and then gave it up and became a public because we couldn't let people not have water. That we're just getting our feet on the ground on the water side. And so I don't know that there's been any real serious thought there. Meriden is private, so the town has no say over that. You know, they could expand, but the history of the Meriden Water District is really, you know, 1/3 of the district is Kimball Union Academy. They pay 1/3 of the bills, and it serves their school primarily, and a few houses in the Meriden Village area. So, you know, that essentially leaves you the Townsend Field on Bonner Road, right, that has water sewer available to it. It is in the VR zone.
right.
That is the most prime developable piece of land probably in Plainfield. But, you know, would Plainfield at someday have a wastewater plant? Certainly might, but it has, and I think, but it has not been looked at, I think, seriously, just keeping the fresh water running. And, you know, the water in Plainfield Village has more treatment challenges to keep it within the state's range for public drinking supply than the water over here. I mean, they have to just touch it over here with chlorine and it meets the standards. In Plainfield, there's much more chlorine that has to be added, which deals to some chemical reactions that cause other problems in the water system. And so it's a struggle, but I think, you know, I think it is more likely that somebody might do a development in Plainfield that they would build their own large septic system to serve it. The condos in Plainfield Village have 12 units and they have their own septic system for that. But that was done sometime in the late 70s, early 1980s. And so it's been that's been the one sort of larger project that was done with a very large private septic system.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next chapter,
Who's it? How do we unpause it, guys? Anybody got a clue on that?
Hit share on the bottom. And
There.
Okay.
Good man. Good man. See if we can make that. I would love to get that out of the way.
Stop pushing buttons.
Oh, I don't know which ones to push. They gotta push some of them.
I'm not gonna volunteer to trade
Well,
places with
you
you.
can run it if you want. Oh, we had it. Any ideas?
go to view.
You,
Yeah. I think if you go. To speaker. The first one, yeah. Oh, that doesn't work.
how about? We'll go back to gallery, share, shouldn't we just? Shouldn't we be on, looks like we're split, just now. I'm gonna stop the share and I'll restart it. There you go.
okay.
this. Would like to get that out of the way. We'll go back one more. And we'll go to economic base.
Yes. Um, I'm not gonna read this, but let's give everybody a minute where they can read the survey results about what people felt about, the economic base of the town, business, future business. You'll see only 11% wanted the town more developed, but 18% would like more businesses and jobs. We talked about this, most favorite types of future economic are restaurants, lodging, childcare, agricultural, personal services like hair salons, laundries, and professional office services like accountants, attorneys. Increased traffic was the largest concern regarding increased development, along with increased noise and light pollution and the loss of small town character and loss of wildlife habitat. There was a question about business park. And 41% believe that we should favor larger home businesses that are allowed in all areas within the town. As part of this ordinance update, the town created the approved combination of related uses and approved business project ordinances to allow for grouping of businesses, encouraging the reuse of existing buildings and promote the consolidation of essential services within the VR zone. Here's the, and then we'll go down to the income.
You wanna go to that graph?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Talked about this, you can see our income exceeds.
Yeah, I think it's important to just take a brief second to talk about the difference between median and mean. Make sure that everybody understands what we're looking at. The mean is typically what you would consider average. The numbers you're looking at are not averages. If you lined up all of the people in Plainfield in order of income, and then you found the middle person, that is the median. And so what you're looking at is the median number, and the reason that that is used is that if you have, half a dozen multimillionaires in town, that's skewed, which I don't know that we do, but if you did, it would skew the whole number if you averaged it. And this makes it a little better representation of what actually is in Plainfield.
Okay, this is the federal poverty guideline, map. It's a little, graph, it's a little difficult to read it, but it just basically shows you, what you need to be below to meet the federal definition. And, I think we can just scroll that past that. And this is what shows poverty levels. You can see that our poverty levels are far below Sullivan County, Grafton County, and the state of New Hampshire. But one of the interesting things, if we continue to scroll down, is when you look at age distribution. This graph also totally bewildered us. The first one is poverty status by age group male. And you see no men under the age of 34 who living in poverty. Then you see this huge number of 53 people in the 35 to 44 year age cohort that are living in poverty, which just seems impossible to me. But and then you see that we have, when you get into people over 65, you have 18 men and then 4 men who were living in poverty, 22 over the age of 65. Then when you get down to females, it changes, interestingly enough. No females between the ages of 35 and 44 are living in poverty. It's just the men. And then you have the numbers go up. People over 55, there were 12. And then over 75, there were 43. So that tells us that there are a number of older women, a fairly high number of older women who are living in poverty in Plainfield.
Okay, what does ACS stand for?
American Community Survey, right? Community Survey, yeah.
And that's just an estimate.
Yeah, but you know, you occasionally see these numbers, you go, how could that be?
Yeah,
How could you have no women between 35 and 45 and these men? We kiddingly said these are guys who are living in the basement, you know, on their computers in their parents' basement. But I mean, not that many. It just,
44.
it just makes no sense. But anyway, we can keep going down. Oh, this is the graph about students who are economically disadvantaged. And it shows that over the years, we have hovered from a low of 4.2 students and now we're at 6.56%. Percent. Yeah. Yeah. And these are employment figures. We have very low unemployment in Plainfield. Obviously, and we all know this, but a high percentage of people in professional white collar jobs.
Most of those not in the labor force are actually retired.
Right.
Good point.
Right. And that also employment by occupation. This one doesn't particularly talk about medical, but the next graph does talk about medical, I believe. Yeah, so here you have, look at employment by industry. Those high numbers are healthcare and educational services. So that clearly is the vast majority of our employment.
Look at how small the public administration numbers are.
Right, just.
That's you.
I don't know who the other people are.
This just talks about commuting. I don't think it's particularly travel time to work. I don't think there's anything particularly
Bicycle.
interesting about that. This talks about the incredible increase in the number of people who work from home, which changes the percentage of people who are traveling to work from 90% in 2010 to less than 82% in 2024.
And that trend is probably swinging back now.
Right.
I mean, we
But
see more
since
and
we
more.
have virtually no public transportation available for our residents, it means you need a car to get to work.
And fair to say, we have had residents come in who said, look, I need a car, I need a bus, some way to get to Lebanon, or I can't get there, right?
Right.
Somebody has to give me a ride.
Right.
And it's probably more so in the transportation chapter, but it is one of those things that public bus stop somewhere in Plainfield between Lebanon and Claremont has to happen some point.
At some point.
And and again, mostly it's a function of the bus companies making the runs and being willing to add a stop. It's
Right.
not the town being able to run a bus service.
This is per capita income. This is about property tax rates, everyone's favorite subject, but, do you want to talk about that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I
Pretty-
think
pretty
we
simple.
understand with the system in the state of New Hampshire for raising money, which means it's primarily driven from local property taxes. And the fact that you have a house, a town where nearly all the houses are lived in by the people who own them. you know, and there is just. If you want a high level of service, which Plainfield residents do, whether it's educational or municipal, and and you have basically normal houses. I mean, the model in the state of New Hampshire used to be Grantham because they had Eastman, and Waterville Valley because they had condos for the mountains. So those people always say, and we've been in these meetings before, let's have a Walmart. Well, a Walmart per square foot doesn't pay anything in taxes, right? It's finished space. Town line equipment pays a lot of taxes, but it doesn't pay taxes like a house pays taxes, right? I mean,
Right.
it's scaled up because of the size of their shop, but it is finished space. And so the model to have a low tax rate in New Hampshire used to be to have lots of second homes. And those second homes, I mean, Grantham, while still low in taxes, lower than us, has seen a tremendous change in the Eastman homes.
Mhm.
They are now primarily for, homes that people commute to
Yeah,
Lebanon.
Right,
And so, you either spend less or you find a way to increase the base. And the base, the increase in the base isn't single family homes that people live in. It just does not work.
Yeah.
And so Plainfield is a perfect storm of that, a demand for high services and a relatively modest residential tax base, where people, the most expensive house in Plainfield that pays $60,000 a year in taxes. By the time they fund any sort of municipal services and 2 kids in the Plainfield school, it's a loss. Right? There
Mhm.
isn't anything to go toward lowering the rate. And so, yes, Plainfield is a high tax rate town. I think we're 10-11 out of 235. But it speaks to the level of service our residents want. And we also have incredible collections in terms of, when Michelle bills $9 million, all but 50,000 of that 9 million is collected by the time we go to lien. And so there is, as much as we would like Plainfield to be more inclusive, there is not a financial crisis in Plainfield. The bills get paid,
Mhm.
and that's just the reality of it. And so the fact that people can pay it and vote for it means they want it, and we provide it.
Right. Okay,
Can I comment?
sure.
Something's gotta be wrong about Hart's location having the highest taxes and Martin's location having the lowest when they're within half an hour of each other up in the White Mountains. I feel like
Well, it's the lowest,
but Hart's location,
Is the highest.
the lowest tax rate in the state.
And the highest is.
And the highest is Martin.
but they're neighbors and they're both up.
We can look at that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, something's not right there.
They didn't used to put those in the list. And they changed the list, because I'm the one that did that, and it didn't make sense to me either. But the list, that's what the list now shows, unless I totally bungled it, which is not out of the realm of possibility, but we could check it.
So Plainfield's tax rate is 149 out of 228?
We rank 149 out of
Or
228.
tax rate?
Yes,
It's not the pure rate, it is the
That
full
full value.
value,
Right, but
Calculation.
that's a fair comparison.
right?
It is a fair comparison.
Yeah, so it's not the actual number of dollars, but it is the state's full value comparison of municipalities. Equalized to the equalized rate.
all right, you wanna keep scrolling?
2 people live in Martin's location and yeah.
No wonder
And that's why they
taxes are
didn't
so
include
high.
them, and all of a sudden they put them on the list, maybe we should take them back on. Don't ask me.
Okay,
You
so
know,
here's
you're
the
not
new,
supposed to data
here's the
point.
newest data
I don't know.
that we have. I mean, the DRA updates this, but it always lags a couple of years. So Plainfield ranks 186 out of 220 in tax rate comparisons with other New Hampshire. The lowest, number 1, is Thompson Purchase, while the highest is Claremont. Lebanon 199, Cornish 154. Hanover 57, Plainfield 186.
So that says that we're on the lower quarter of tax rate?
No, the higher,
Higher.
the highest,
We're in the higher half.
right? So so we're 186, Claremont is 220. And I don't know, the max, depending on how you count it, I guess they're at 220 now, it used to be 234 was the number they based it on, but, we're not, I mean, one never, no one who prospects on properties in Plainfield ever leaves the town office having been told this is a town to retire to if low taxes are what interests you, because it's just not true. I mean, it isn't. And so it's, and again, but look at, I mean, Lebanon is 199, Cornish is 154. It is the upper valley.
Right.
That's where you fall if you're in the upper valley.
All right, want to keep going down?
Don't we go to recommendations? Goals,
Sure.
recommendations. I'm thinking we got 9 chapters, so.
Okay, yeah, so, just to make the point about that first recommendation, we are fortunate that we have a system in place through town human services and also the Shell Trust to really assist families who are in the economically disadvantaged, criteria, meet that criteria. I mean, we are a very wealthy town and, I would argue that we could afford to be doing more, except now that we have the Shell Trust, that's a mechanism is really helping to meet that need. It's not just a line item in the budget for human services. So, that has enabled Stephanie to do a tremendous amount for many people in town who otherwise would be, struggling.
I mean, if we think about our infrastructure and what our role might be in the upper valley. High-speed internet throughout town will help with home businesses and people that want to work from home. But essentially, Plainfield's role in the upper valley is residential housing, right? We don't have a wastewater treatment plant that UniFirst would need to do laundry services like they do on Etna Road. And you're not gonna get a Walmart. You're not gonna get, big retail, although, Lebanon would suggest that big retail has not saved them very much. It's cost them more. So I think if we look at what our role is in the upper valley, like most of the small towns, Cornish, Plainfield, Lyme, our role is residential housing, and the economic centers are Claremont and Lebanon. Right? I mean, that's where people go for their shopping, they go to work, they go for their medical. We'd love a doctor's office. That'd be great.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's always been a bit of a mystery to me. When I look at Lyme. Lyme is very similar to us demographically, very similar in terms of income. But yet they have a lot around their green, they have
Businesses.
businesses, they have law offices, they have.
And I think
all
some of it
kinds
has,
stuff. And I just,
Inns
I've
and a
never
restaurant.
understood why.
well, I think some of it is it's a longer
Yeah.
shot to get to Lebanon, right? Nobody would do a business in Plainfield because there's 7 of them in Lebanon, 6 miles up the road.
Well, that's true.
Where Lyme, you gotta drop all the way to the upper, you gotta come down to
Right.
Lebanon. Hanover's mostly Dartmouth College, right? I mean, that's what Hanover is its
but-
role was Dartmouth College.
Mine is suburban Hanover,
Yes,
Yeah.
right, and we're suburban Lebanon,
Yes,
and I don't know, to me, it seems Lyme is a way wealthier town than Lebanon.
no, if you look at the data, it's not,
Um,
I haven't compared it to this last census, but it's very, very similar.
So the one thing that I would comment on, it's not exactly economic basis, but it's tax rate. Is since 70% of the taxes go to the school. And since this is being discussed and is. Likely to be moved forward by the school board this March is, anything that could be done to lower the school tax rate. Would majorly benefit the Plainfield tax rate,
Mhm, mhm,
which, and the vote will be on us merging Cornish,
mhm,
which I think is. Most people have probably heard that's being discussed.
mhm.
Well, we have our representative here, state funding has a lot to do with that. And the worse it gets, the more we pay. It doesn't, and it's just that simple.
Yeah, right, but that part we can't directly change, but it's hard to know, we'll see where the numbers come out, but it's in all likelihood gonna lower the school tax rate by, I would say 10-20% in both towns by merging. And merging means closing the corner school.
Right. The two drivers in the school costs are special ed and administration, which are, unfortunately, special ed is tied to federal things, so it's very complicated to undo it, but it's not funded starting at the federal level all the way down. We changed it a little bit with the bill that just passed that changes the ratios of who pays what and when they start to pay for special education services. The administration part, we've been trying to encourage Cornish and Plainfield, for example, to actually become one SAU, then you don't have to buy two computer systems and go to 8 meetings a week, you know, but nobody wants to do that, so I don't know how you.
How we get, well,
How do
Cornish
you get
voted
to
it down, right?
Well,
Well, Cornish voted what down?
I thought that came up at the school
Yeah.
meeting about whether they wanted to pursue the,
No, they voted down a bond for $11.5 million to fully renovate their school to keep it a K-8.
okay,
So.
But they did pull out of the middle school project, right? They
And
basically
they didn't pull out, they went.
never went in, okay, but
And-
effectively didn't bring their kids.
Yeah, so there was a potential to have the middle school
right,
move to Plainfield with K-5 staying in Cornish. And functionally that remains on the table, but, outside of it being a co-op. And so this, I don't know how much we're gonna go into the school board thing,
well,
but, the co-op proposal that will go forward is gonna be a one school model, which means Cornish has to decide to close their school. Huge decision.
who's decision, yeah,
But I think you're right, at 70% of the weight, you wag the dog. And so it is, if we're gonna see reduction, it comes in the significant reduction, it comes on the educational side, I mean, you know. We may end up merging with Cornish for things like police services, just because neither town can hire police officers, right? There aren't enough.
Right.
And so there probably would be savings there, so there are things on the municipal side we should be looking at with Cornish as well, but. As we all know, I mean, we all spent years here, I mean, your identity, your township is very important to people. And it's hard to give that stuff up, people don't wanna give that stuff up, and it's a breaking of the bank. That eventually does it, right? The numbers are just too expensive, and we may be very close to that right now, we certainly feel like we are, right? I mean,
Right.
we do.
right,
But Cornish is not going to wanna give their stuff up any more than we would want to. Right, I mean, the voters of Cornish, they care, they want their kids to go to Cornish school,
right,
right, if they can.
Which is understandable, but
Yeah,
you don't get in
very
a car
human.
that doesn't work, you get in the one that drives.
Right, well, I think the sales pitch to Cornish is that we're gonna have one school, they're gonna own a chunk of the Plainfield school. Right, it's a cooperative school, I mean, right, it's not with their tuition students, they got ownership in it. It's theirs,
mhm,
and so that may be hard for Plainfield to say they wanna do, right?
yeah,
I mean, so we'll, you know, but if we're talking about changing the economics of our town, that is a place where it happens.
right.
It's unlikely that some factory is coming to Plainfield to pay $1 million a year in tax and save the tax rate.
right,
And if it did, it would be building something people wouldn't want, at least wouldn't want in their backyard.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's something you wanna include in your recommendations or
I
something.
think it was the last bullet point, which is about regional cooperation. I think maybe that would fall under that.
yeah, how can we promote, well,
We may wanna strengthen that a little bit or something, I think I mean,
or just add regional cooperation is a pretty general term and add, and potential school consolidation. We could,
Well, actually, any kind of consolidation like police, for
Right.
example,
Yeah,
so
you-
Right.
cooperation and consolidation,
Right,
you know.
right. Okay. All right, let's go to the next. Facilities? Police, you wanna talk about this? This is pretty straightforward. It's
It's very
a
straightforward.
description of our town facilities.
I think the biggest difference was the addition of the, when we get into the fire departments, the fact that there's, they were consolidated into one, it's Plainfield Municipal Fire Department now, there's not two separate entities. And, the other things that made an appearance in this one that were not in previous, that we have the two libraries now rather than just the one. And our, health and human services and, emergency management and, the health officer, those were almost non-existent in the last master plan. So when we get to that section, in general with here, people are happy with the highway department. I mean, almost to the point of like pom-poms and cheering when they see them. But this is what I was talking about, the human services, the health officer and the emergency management, section of this. I mean, obviously not a building, but, a service that has been incorporated into the town administration that makes such a difference. Like you were talking about before, with Stephanie with the Shell Fund. That's something that didn't exist the last master plan. There's the food pantry. Stephanie has a series of volunteers throughout the town to give rides to appointments for people who can't get there. She does check-ins all over the place. And one of the things that happens with her particular job is that she has a lot of overlap between the human services, the health officer and the emergency management roles. It's just,
Mhm.
so oftentimes she wears multiple hats in different circumstances. We've come a long way in bringing our, town buildings, into the new century with, heat pumps in this building and, we're in the process of using the old heat pumps from the Meriden building for the, highway department building. We just did a complete roof on the highway department building. Looks very nice. We don't have to worry about that caving in on anybody. And, that was all grant money, wasn't it, Steve, that the roof?
Yeah,
It
and
ended
really,
up being like maybe $10,000-12,000 of town money for overflow of costs.
and in terms of, you know, it was an intersection of, and the selectmen took the route of existing facility. I mean, essentially, the work we've done that Elise is referring to in the highway garage means that we are committed, that we're not building the new highway garage in the next 20 years. That is your highway garage. And so that relieves the voters' concerns about a $5 million bond for a new highway garage and adding to the debt of the town. We're gonna use the one that we've had. One of the interesting things, and this is a challenge for the town administrator and the next town administrator and boards of selectmen. As our residents get further away from blue collar work, they are absolutely amazed that when it snows 20 inches, the road gets plowed. Or that the road agent can come along and grade or cut a big tree. It is the local folks in town who have lived here many years or are in the trade of dirt work who see some of our techniques needing improvement. Cause you're absolutely right. The survey says, everybody says, my God, I just love the highway. I can't believe they plowed the snow. Well, they're in the business of plowing the snow. And so a real challenge for the town going forward, a place where savings could be had would be to be more efficient in our grading, more efficient in our road maintenance that lasted longer through these more dramatic storm events that we're having. And what that generally means is as people retire and age out, is an upgrading of the personnel at highway department to more detailed level of skills, right? You know, I mean, our guys used to make $20 an hour, they now make $26 an hour. But a grader operator would expect to make $40 an hour. And it's that kind of, but the grader operator could save you $10,000 a year if you could have one, right? Because you wouldn't be hauling gravel and fixing roads after thunderstorms. And so it's a real paradox for us because the public who is less involved in maintenance of their own properties and of town stuff than they've ever been in our community is supportive of the highway department. There are those of us that could see there are places for improvement, and we need to make those, you know, make those leaps, particularly with climate change. I mean, you know, 100-year storm events now happen every other year. And we've had a nice summer this year, we had a nice summer last year, but we are working on resilience. But highway, you're gonna see the same highway garage, and you're going to, you know, I think if anything, we would want to put our resources into higher skill levels in the equipment operation. And road agent Collins knows that. I mean, we talked to him about it a lot. We ask our road agent in our town to do way too much. He can't be the mechanic, and the road agent and the equipment operator, just not enough room. And or time in the day for that, so we need to diversify there. And that's gonna cost money, by the way. It's not gonna be inexpensive, but it will save money. And we have done a good job with getting off of fossil fuels.
Yes.
The real crown in the jewel is the Meriden Library, which now has, you know, donated.
Net zero now?
Yeah, I mean, essentially has a solar panels on the roof, literally, and I gotta say this in a meeting, so they get more and more credit for it. The cost to put solar on the Meriden Library with conventional companies was $75,000. And they did it for $30,000 using a fellow from Cornish who's very involved in solar and has a solar posse, people who are interested. And they now have a building that cost the taxpayers no additional dollars that is net zero. I mean, its climate is exactly the same in that building 365 days a year, and it generates no bills. I mean, it's an impressive building. If you want to feel bad about your house, go spend an afternoon in the Meriden Library, because it can be done that way. And then, you know, obviously the gravel pit is one of those things that we don't talk much about, but when you don't have a gravel pit, you will see a very different. And some would argue we don't have one now, by the way. I mean, the material that comes out of the pit is not particularly high quality, better gravel than sand, but it has a finite, you know, use and will end
But
up.
I think it's important to
Like-
draw attention to the fact that there have been monies put aside for the reclamation of that area.
Yeah, Scott McClay 20 years ago said throw $5,000 a year and put $5,000 a year in a reclamation fund, and when you get done, have to close the pit. I mean, what's the pit most likely to be? Plainfield's biggest solar field, right? That's looks right and bothers no one, sits low. I think right now we would burn the telephone wires off or the electric lines off the poles, because there's not enough infrastructure to take as much solar. But there is, to Elise's point, there is a fund that will put the gravel pit to bed. And it's been a very, you know, that was one of Scott McClay's suggestions at a town meeting, and it was a very, very good one.
And as Steve says, we love our toters.
Right.
Yeah, we love our toters to an insane amount. I mean, the cost of our
Keep scrolling.
cost is insane.
Yeah.
But it is true.
And description of the libraries and the Plainfield School.
But. Look, there it is.
I was tempted to do a drive-by on my way over just to see what's, you know, what stage they're at as far as, the addition and all of that, but,
It's pretty much all inside.
Right,
Yeah.
it's such a small addition, it's hard to see it.
Well,
But it's there,
you
it's
know, I'm
happening.
thinking that might be a Spirit Day thing, you know, that maybe that should be open for people on Spirit Day to check it out.
Take a look. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're paying for it,
Cemeteries, we got all of them we need.
yes.
And some new spots in the,
Oh,
Yes, it was survey for Gleason.
yeah,
It's got a bunch of.
actually, Gilkey.
Jarvisville.
People more in Gilkey.
Do we wanna talk about electric companies?
Not that-
Plainfield has 3. We have cable TV, but almost no one cares anymore because we have fiber,
Yeah.
and so you can, and we're gonna have more fiber. Very, very soon, if you believe, I don't know that a pole, some of the poles in Plainfield, if you go down Stage Road, I don't believe they can hold any more fiber. There is so much stuff hanging off some of these utility poles, but we are scheduled to have broadband throughout town by the fall.
Paul's not that far away.
No, but if you
No,
want,
it's
but, I mean, if you think it's a myth or don't believe it, on your way out, go walk up the stairs, you can see the hub. It is being built up there. Granted, Hub 66 has been slow. New Hampshire Co-op is up and running, so if you're on the
Yeah, I
coast,
just had them,
if-
I just switched over.
if you're having the co-op, you can get broadband. And Hub 66 does exist. And then we talked about the water districts,
Yeah,
private and public.
yeah, I don't think that expanding the water lines in Plainfield is viable until the kinks are worked out of the system as it exists.
No, and water is relatively easy for developers, right? A single residential well will serve lots of units. It's the wastewater, which is terribly expensive.
Nothing.
Or it's
Not up there.
Exciting there.
Alright, let's go with another one. Recreation, I mean, basically, it's a love fest with trails.
Right,
Right.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's mentioned in many of the narrative remarks about people enjoying the trails, wanting more trails.
There's a point at which the number of trails detracts from the experience. People get a little too aggressive with how many trails they think they need in the same place.
Right.
And you get a spaghetti thing that
Yeah,
does not enhance the environment.
And we have seen a return to normalcy with COVID in the rearview mirror. I mean, it was out of control for a while. Most of the parking lots, the school being the hub, but there being lots of smaller parking lots serve that. People love the trail networks. I mean,
Right.
it's, people come into the town office to make their donations because they've had such a good
Mhm.
experience on the trails.
were we gonna put the trail map in here? Or we just,
I think we were
talked
gonna
about
put a
put a
link to where you can find it.
Yeah,
That goes all the way back to the town survey that we did in 1985. The town, we had the meeting at Singing.
Right, we had a community profile. And the trails group came out of that, and of course, the Townsend Bridge got built, and it's all history, and it's been really the feel-good story of a couple of decades now. in terms-
40 years, that was
You know,
1986.
people can get,
No, 96, sorry, 30 years.
almost regardless of what your abilities to do activities are, you can find something that you could enjoy in the trail network. There's flat trails, there's steep trails, there's views, there's, we do get, I would say, as we have more users, as the upper valley grows, the trails will have more users. There is a increased desire for additional things. We don't know what to do with e-bikes yet, Enfield has had more experience than that. Horses, people don't have places to ride horses that they used to. They'd like to be on our trails. We've resisted that so far for a bunch of reasons, but that comes up every year.
mhm.
Or ATVs, horses,
you'd
And-
need quite the poop bag if you were bringing horses on the trail.
right? And we've had some. I mean, and that is the first complaint is that there's horse manure, which is almost comes with horses without question. But I think as the upper valley grows, Plainfield's natural resources will get more use.
Mhm.
The Connecticut River will get more use. It does get more use. The trails will get more use. I mean, come on a Saturday and look at the trailheads. It's not uncommon for there to be as many as Vermont cars as New Hampshire
Mhm,
cars,
mhm.
and that's not a bad thing, it just it shows you that people out of Plainfield
Or come- yeah.
are coming to use our trails.
Yeah.
Trails are very concentrated. When the trail group first started, they were working on trails on the Plainfield side and some other
Right.
things. And right now, none of that is happening that I'm aware of.
Right,
And so everything focuses on
Meriden.
Meredith.
Yeah,
well, one of the things I would say that has helped is that in East Plainfield, there's always been a very extensive Class 6 road network. And that was used by cross-country skiers, by snowmobilers, by ATVers, and by right, I mean, it's a public road, you can use your ATV on it in Plainfield. The trail network has pulled a lot of those non-motorized uses onto the trails, leaving that other area for the people, you know, for folks who have either ATVs. You know, we have not been hit here with the side-by-side craze, but, you know, go north of here, not very far, and everybody drives their side-by-side to the, they want, you know, there will come a day when you'll see side-by-sides parked at Tom's Tavern. People will have wanted to be able to do that. Up north, it's common. Here, we've not seen it. But
Hey,
again,
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
Steve, question. So it seems to me like the class 6 roads over here in Plainfield are the natural trail flow. I mean, they're owned by the town. There's all kind of disputes of who can like block one off and all that kind of thing, but there are some beautiful
yes,
class 6 roads over here, like from Ledge Road down to Peterson Road, or I think that's what it is, the one that goes
Yeah.
by between.
no, you're
Birchville
absolutely
Store.
right, Ken. You're absolutely right. And there are statutes which would allow those to become trails only. But right now, the class 6 roads are wide open for
Mhm.
vehicles.
Mhm.
People can drive their cars down them if they choose to. But I think you know, one of the things we've always thought would be really cool in Plainfield Village was a walking loop, you know, Peterson
Well,
Road.
I'm not advocating closing them off to like vehicle traffic, but I am saying that they are a natural, usually there's nobody driving down through there, so you can have a
Right.
great walk.
Yes.
For example, Ledge Road down in Plainfield Village is awesome. And you won't encounter anybody, maybe somebody with a dog or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're throughout town, those are.
there's a better trail network over here than we give ourselves credit for, and maybe,
Okay.
you know, that's all.
Yeah.
Point taken, okay.
But I do think it would, and I'm not suggesting impeding on the class 6 roads. I mean, I think people in Plainfield Village are hungry for a walking trail, a place to go with it's not 12A. You know, Long Acres land, Haywood and Westgate gets a lot of activity. That's about to stop because Norman and Bobby are gonna build a house right in the middle of it. But it is, I see people walking up 12A, and for a while we had worked with the Seventh-day Adventist Church or running
Right.
a school before them. The idea of getting an easement over Clay Brook, connect to this class 6 road on either Sugar Hill or Peterson, however you call those roads up there. But the ability to have a loop for people to walk in Plainfield Village would be really nice. And that's, I think, a missing piece from our recreation puzzle.
Right, now we just go up and down the street, and up and down the street.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and it's not a particularly pleasant street to walk on. I mean, it isn't. I see the folks going to top of Reed's Hill because they want their exercise.
You can go up Dodge Road to Lang and down and
Right.
come out and
That's
come back down the road.
Long block. Yeah.
One of the unsung trails in Plainfield that really should get more use, and I'm sure she would continue to maintain it, maybe pick up the maintenance like it was when it was first built, is Colleen O'Neill has an access off of Hell Hollow Road that goes up to the top of the world. And it's, you know, she's got a bridge, she's got a gate, it tells the rules of the road, but essentially you're welcome, you know, as she is on all of her land. And that's a pretty aggressive, I mean, the trouble with Langwood Farm is it starts low and goes high, and so it's steep. And so you're gonna go uphill, and you're gonna have to like going uphill or you're not gonna like it. But that is a place, I mean, I park there a lot and I very rarely see another human being. The other one, which we give our friends in Cornish credit, is the Lipford Forest. Lipford Forest is crazy good. I mean, Bill Lipford down there owns a couple thousand acres and begs people to come use it. And is maintaining cross-country ski trails on it and all sorts of things. Another resource for people in town in the Upper Valley. Not, I don't think nearly as well known or used as the trails at the Plainfield School, but literally he has a Facebook page where he posts every day about
Wow.
what the work they've been doing and hoping people will come. And they do. I mean, there's people, but it's a nice resource that's very close to our town. Transportation, Gene.
Yeah, there's not too much in transportation. I mean, those figures haven't changed or in terms of how many miles are.
Right, we've added a few
Right.
spur roads, we've
Yeah, but-
updated some 6s to 5s, and we
Yeah,
added Baines Road.
But I think we can skip right through that.
You know, there's
Unless
not,
somebody has a question.
there's not a lot there.
Are we finding any results with the having some of the traffic, speed things in the village?
I know it wakes me up.
Yeah.
You mean just in terms of the signs?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're effective. One of the things it does is that we have a couple different ones. We have one you don't know about, which is just a black box that most people think is part of the new broadband system. That actually gives the driver no information as to how they were doing for speed, but gives our police really good information as to what the real speeds are and what time of day those people, so they can target patrols, given how limited we are in police, being on the roads at the right time. But yeah, our police department is, you know, because of the lack of staff, they are depending very heavily on. We have both a trailer and then we have this thing that bolts on to signs. And we use it, I think, more aggressively than the state had expected we'd use it. But it's really a very nice device. As long, we've made a bracket up that allows you to hook it to any sign. You want it hung on a sign that has the speed limit of the, you know, so the driver sees 35 and then they see their speed, their digital speed. You have to give them that information if you're gonna put that little thing has worked out really well. We laughed at it when we first got it, but it'll last a week on one charge, and he can put that anywhere around town, and he can lock it right to the signpost.
One of the stipulations was that it not be in the same place forever, and the way that we.
Yeah, oh, no, in fact, we use it in more places than were approved.
And that makes it easy to do.
But that's been a really nice addition to their, you know, Rob DiPietro is fond of saying the trailer is his assistant.
Yeah.
And so he's deploying his assistant. I think the biggest change, transportation wise, Plainfield, is absolutely 120 and 12A, and probably 12A. I mean, 12A is just different. You could say it's good, you can say it's bad, but you can't say it's not different. I mean, 3,000 cars a day, come through the village now.
I pulled out of the driveway tonight into a group, to make myself one of a caravan of about a dozen.
Right, you can literally see the lights in Lebanon,
Yeah.
right? It's how many cars can get through the lights and then they come down. And those people, many of them are coming to Plainfield, many are passing through, but it is a significant regional change, is the traffic on those two roads. And you know, they are commuting roads, that's what people are. We are just about to do, because the Regional Planning Commission has some money. We are about to do a road surface management redo on the paved roads, so the road agent will have better data to determine what roads to pave and what roads not to pave and repair and all of that. So that's a good thing. Gravel roads, too many. Everybody wants to live on a gravel road because they've seen the LL Bean catalog. And then when they actually do, they hate it. There's one day in October when it's super pretty and you can walk your golden retriever. The rest of the time, it's either muddy or dusty. And that's just. And they're expensive to keep up and maintain, but pavement is prohibitively expensive to put down.
I continue to think that we ought to benefit from Enfield's experiment with putting some hard pack in the mud places.
Well, our friends in Cornish are doing it now. If you go up Lang Road, they've added hard pack to Lang Road and seem to be having positive results. The other thing Cornish did, which I hadn't seen in 30 years, which we'll have to consider, is they chip sealed Penniman Road. And I thought, oh my God, as I pulled in on my bicycle, this is gonna be terrible. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't terrible as long as you stay on your bike.
Right, well, right, yeah, you don't, I mean, and I don't know, Ross, you're the engineer, but I assume chip seal is a maintenance issue for existing pavement. It's not, it gets its strength from the pavement underneath.
Yeah, I think it's like a paint coat.
It's a seal,
Yeah.
it's a way to maybe keep water out.
Is it like old chewed up asphalt?
Rock, it's little pieces of rock, I think.
I haven't seen it used, I've only been with the state for 5 years and I haven't seen any, we haven't, none of our annual paving programs have put any new chip seal down.
Cornish is the first place, I mean, I haven't seen, I mean, the road, our road agent was told by their road agent they were gonna do it. And for the moment, it looks good and has a decent, you know, you have to get the shape right before you put the chip seal on it. And it's incredibly risky because it's sticky and it's wicked sticky.
That's a good point. It won't do anything to solve the problem of like ruts or like get a road, like your road's like your shingled roof, like it to shed water. So when it gets all rutted out, the chip seal's not gonna help
Not gonna
that.
help you.
You have to education road level first.
But it is, you know, I mean, it is,
Pretty nice right now.
yeah, no, I've been shocked that it didn't flatten my tires or take me out.
Yeah,
Oh, I was on my bike.
We haven't added scenic roads in decades. We have the same list that came out of the 1980s, early 1980s, 1970s.
they're still scenic.
Yep,
Yeah.
and they do have a requirement for utility companies and people to pay attention when they're cutting trees in town, when it's doing work.
And basically, all of that says that we don't have transportation systems in the town of Plainfield.
Right, okay, so let's just keep
Right.
going.
Although I do think there's a chance that the Lebanon Airport has, whether it's a good thing or bad thing for Plainfield, it seems to, Lebanon is over closing it. You know, that sold a lot of Valley Newses, and there's at least one carrier up there now, Cape Air.
We have heliports in town,
Yes, we do.
How many?
2 or 3.
Right, Roger Sharkey.
Well, he's had one forever.
I brought his helicopter to touch a truck. Which I'm sure was much better than the town's Mack dump truck, right? I mean, kids want to go see the helicopter, who wouldn't? Park and ride, the one we've talked about. And the Christ Community Church in Plainfield Village is the site that's often discussed, or at least talked about, because it exists and it's right off the road. 120 is a little harder. What we learned is that people want to meet right on the road, right? They don't want to be driving, whether it's a bus or commuters,
Parking right away.
right? And we do that a lot. Trails. Bicycling, promote it more, don't run them over. Easier said than done.
Is there any chance of getting some sidewalk on Bonner?
That is and the problem with Plainfield and Sidewalk on Bonner, and it's a great idea. It will have to be fully funded by Plainfield taxpayers. Because we are too wealthy to qualify for safe school money. There's just other places, and when the folks come, they look and they're like. Oh my God, really? That's your traffic? For us, every child on that road is precious and the most important child, but there aren't enough of them, right? There just aren't enough kids using using the road. There was a time when KUA was very interested in helping with that because their kids, you know, they have a fair number of kids that go down. And the problem with Bonner Road, we walked it with town engineer at least once. A sidewalk becomes a dam. And so then you're funneling water either into closed catch basins, which are expensive. Ask the state about Main Street, they just did a bunch of work. Or you're changing, you know, you have to have catch basins because the curb holds the water and it just shoots it down the road to the next driveway. And so what I continue to think is a good idea, but it's not popular, is paving the road, the Bonner Road. And then, or making it black, painting it, and then narrowing the lanes to ridiculously small width and shifting the whole road to one side and hash marking the other side. So that people visually see a place to walk, but that doesn't protect kids, there's no curbing there. And so Bonner Road is something we have not been, you know, we do a little program each year, and we're about to again on, for safety markings, and we'll try to get it done. The company, it's a long story, but it's hard to get that work done, but we have a company, they're in Newport, Vermont. So they like to come and do something else when they come from Newport, Vermont.
Nothing really new there.
And I think we support bicycle activity, either recreational or commuting. We've had some people ride into Lebanon on a fairly regular basis. We know it's difficult when the roads are narrow and the shoulders are narrow. I mean, we
And it's
all,
uphill both ways.
it is uphill, but and we all bitch about how wide 12A is until you get on a bicycle and you get just north of the covered bridge and you're like, whoa, this is way better. I'm not gonna get killed right now. Or if I am, then it's gonna be more intentional. And so it's tough.
It is.
And
So,
we do have, we are a member of the Regional Planning Commission. We do participate in their discussions about transportation in the Upper Valley. All right, population, Jane. That's one of your,
well, yeah, I think the graphs, are pretty straightforward. You can just see, our growth has been slow, steady, no great changes, especially in the last couple of decades.
although, again, the demographics are that we are retirement here,
Right,
Yeah, we're getting older.
right?
yeah, the projections are retirement, we'll get that to a next graph. There's a projection that our population is actually gonna drop.
I like that you went back to 1787.
Yeah, well, we're not afraid to cover some ground there. Well, this would be where Walter Backhoff would say we hit our peak, right?
Right.
In the year, things were cooking in Plainfield and Cornish. What am I on here? Go down a little further. Population.
Yeah, this is where the graph says we're gonna have a small decrease in. You just.
Did I go by, well, I
you
didn't
just
see a
missed-
graph.
No, keep,
This one? No? Do
keep,
you want me to go up or down?
I don't know, you.
Well, I didn't see a graph. I saw
Yeah,
this
there's a-
one, which we've looked at a bunch.
Okay, now go down, just the next one
To
below,
figure 8.1, there you go.
and go down there. So you're seeing that their projection is that we'll have a 4% decrease in population by 2050.
So we peaked.
Kind of where we are right now.
Yeah,
75-year-olds don't create many kids.
right, so, I mean, it's just,
Except for
it's,
what was his name,
Not a lot of us.
I can see his face, I can't remember.
yeah, so I
his name.
keep scrolling.
We're quite rural at
Right,
48. I
right.
mean, look at Lebanon has 380 people per
Right.
square mile. Age distribution, here's where it hits the road.
Well, adding that little section of Grantham to Plainfield kind of helps skew our numbers just.
Right,
Right, a lot of woods that nobody can live in.
right, keep going down.
Huh?
Yeah, so,
So green is 2020, 2010, and yellow is 2020.
How do you read that graph?
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How do you?
So the piece is on the bottom of the row, the column rather.
Yeah, but why is that Adam, why is,
Would be better if they're next to each other.
yeah,
It would be.
Right.
We had so many graph issues that I have to say that, we got fed up with.
But we had, yeah,
Yeah, it's not cumulative, they're separate, they just.
right, just,
Yeah.
just, it lets you see the delta easily.
Mhm.
It's not the most helpful. It's kind of just giving us a big range.
Right,
Right, and obviously we've added a fair number of 20 to 64, but that's most of the living is done between 20 and 64, right? That's, I mean, it's sad to say, I am at the moment, sad to say. that most of them-
older and didn't move out.
right,
But the categories, like 5 to 19, that's only 14 years, and 20 to Or it's a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's really worth keeping, but anyway, we got
It's
it.
not hurting anything.
It's not hurting.
Right, that's what,
Keep it moving.
here we go.
Well, Plainfield school population, we all know about that, so
Not increasing.
not increasing.
Yeah,
I think I was part of the biggest.
Mm,
Oh,
Baby boom.
of course, that's the labor force. Those are just working people. So,
Which we're practically out of.
I'm working on not being in the working one anymore.
yeah, so you see the dramatic increase in elderly population as a percentage of total.
But it's also, we're not that different than New Hampshire.
No, no,
We're
I just
not that
said,
different than Sullivan County.
right,
I mean, it's not unique to Plainfield that we
No.
are an aging population in the
Right.
Northeast.
okay, let's keep going.
well, I think those trends are all
We already talked
country.
about poverty.
The income.
Okay. We're down to goals and recommendations. That one recommendation on population, because I think it's not politically correct to say we want less people or more people. We're not even that, you know, those things, right?
Let's put up a sign. Welcome, go home.
When in doubt, start a committee.
Right, that's exactly it. All right, so this is the biggie here, Jane, because
Yeah.
this is where, I mean, the concerns, I mean, what do you do with what do you do with the existing zoning ordinance? Do you throw it out and keep it? What do you? But we've had 4% in our growth in housing.
Right.
And Lebanon's had 8. Sullivan County has shrunk. Now, maybe we have no more. Here we go, and we know what the people.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I mean, here's the rub. Everybody who lives here wants to live, keep it the way it is, and says, let's have some affordable housing too, but not here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the reality.
We just need to learn to camouflage houses to look like trees.
So.
Yeah, we already talked about it.
These things are very similar, but I think. You know, one of the, usually when you finish a master plan update, the next thing is that it tell us to do anything different with
Right,
our
right,
zoning ordinance.
right.
Right? Plainfield zoning ordinance comes out of the 1970s. It's been modified a bunch since the 1970s. But it still, you know, basically breaks the town into a bunch of different zones for a bunch of different reasons.
Right,
And the most common zone is the rural residential zone, 3.5 acres, 200 feet of road frontage per lot. And the highest density zone is the village residential with 100 feet of road frontage
Mhm.
and essentially 1 acre lots. You can move that a little bit, but call it 1 acre lot. And the accessory dwelling unit has effectively doubled the number of house potentials
Mhm.
that you have. Not everybody's gonna take advantage of it, but everybody can.
Right,
Every lot in Plainfield now, even the non-conforming lots, now get an ADU. And so the most common thing that I think the planning board would hear from the public, not necessarily the public that has responded to the survey, but is there room to reduce lot sizes? To
Mhm.
make subdivision more easily done. To make lots, you know, in the rural residential zone, can you have a 1 acre lot? Can you have a 100-foot lot?
Right.
And people have very strong feelings about whether that's a good idea or not. But the only way to increase the number of lots is to change the zoning ordinance.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily change the number of new construction houses.
Right.
I mean, the land cost, we've talked about this a lot, the land cost. If you reduce it from 3.5 to 2. So you'd only buy 2 acres instead of 3.5, and whatever the average acreage is now, at cost per acre, it's like 15 or something
Right.
per acre.
Yeah.
Depends, I mean, they'll.
Unless you buy up
Last
on
one, Bean
Lisa.
Road, so sold for 190,000 for 4 acres.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, you know,
45,000.
That was wickedly
Right.
skewed.
I mean, Bean Road,
I'm just saying that I don't think the cost of land is the barrier to new construction. It's the cost of new construction.
I would agree with you.
I mean, Bean
Because
So,
Road,
so you can
just as
change the
much to
zoning
build
and
to-
reduce the minimum lot size. But I'm not sure that's really gonna make a significant impact.
And I would bet that if you lowered the lot size from 3.5 to 2, that the price of the lot wouldn't go down that much.
Exactly,
Right.
That's my-
Building-
that's
building
my-
lots of building.
that's my point.
I mean, effectively, in New Hampshire, you have the requirement that 5 acres and larger. You don't have to prove septic. So a person doing a subdivision gets really cheap lots, because they can miss a step. They don't have to get approval from the state if the lot is 5 acres or larger. And current use at 11 acres, a ridiculous number for current use, 11 acres.
Mhm.
You can be in current use, cause you need 10 to be in the program, but you're gonna eat up 1 or something like 1 for your house. Those 2 things effectively meet our state zoning, right? How many in all the years we've been here, how many 3.5 acre lots have we seen created? Almost none.
Right,
5 and 11, 5 and 11, because people, or 15, you know, I mean, depending on how much, but essentially what people create in Plainfield, 5 acre lots and current use lots. That's what we get. And then state law doesn't change. I mean, you can tinker with the ordinance and say, and make it just as expensive to do a 5 acre lot as it is to do a 3 acre lot, and some towns have done that. To at least get people to consider doing 3.5 acre lots, you know, the smaller size.
Mhm.
Would
But-
it make a difference to reduce the road frontage requirements?
Well, I think to Norm's point, I mean, lots are just, there is an inherent price on a buildable lot right now.
Right.
And that price is something over $100,000.
Right.
That's just what it is. And if it's a current use lot, it's worth a couple hundred or more. Because it's people like room to stretch out, and they like the couple $1,000s a year they save on their tax bill. But it is. Yeah, and I don't think at this moment in time, people do age out of their properties and they sell. I mean, people get older and, you know, right now, there is no one in Plainfield that owns large tracts of land that's motivated to subdivide, or they would be doing it, right?
Right.
The market has never been stronger. But the people who own 100 acres or 200 acres, they like it.
Right.
And they wanna keep it, and it's a private market thing.
Right.
And they choose to do it. I mean. Yeah, and I mean. It's the Townsend land on Bonner Road, right? And the interesting thing about the kids is they have often said to the town, Ira bought that land for people so that it would be used as the way the town would like it used. And we have not heard from them in a decade. I don't know where they are anymore. You know, both Ira and Sally have passed. The heirs own that property. Walking distance to the Plainfield School, water, sewer. Every 20,000 square feet, there's a lot.
Mhm.
Huge difference on the community,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, that's a lot of people and a lot of kids and a lot of, you know, or things, you know, coming to Plainfield that we don't have now. But absolutely the most developable piece of
Right.
land in our town.
Right.
And the Max just took a couple hundred bales off it, right? Which they've done for, you know, years now. Taylor's before them.
And tastes are changing though too, because a lot of the younger generation, Gen Z, they don't want property. They
Right.
don't have to take care of it.
They don't wanna
they're not
mow.
interested. Huh?
Yeah.
They don't wanna pull out a mower.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
No, when I grew up in Plainfield, you wanted to be Peeny Goodwin, you wanted to own a big chunk of land, that would have been fun. And Erica Smith will tell you, that is not what people want.
Right.
People wanna hire Tom Williams for $100 a week to mow their lawn and go play golf
Right,
or ride their mountain bikes.
right.
Right, they don't value, they don't see any value in the acreage. This is one that we've talked about over the years.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
done one. Easier to do now than ever because the maps are digital,
Right,
right? I mean, the regional planning commission could.
yeah, I think that's something that we might consider doing.
One of the gifts we're leaving to the town of Plainfield is right behind Mike Sullivan. That map has 20 years of that map in it. So that map shows every lot in Plainfield every year, right? And so
Okay.
every one of the previous ones is under there. So some point, somebody will put in the next year's map and they'll be like, oh my goodness, there is a treasure trove of maps here. Because you can see,
The layers, yeah.
you know, you could flick it like a piece and see the lots change over time.
Hmm.
And you could probably do that digitally and it would be much more entertaining.
Yeah, I think,
Any questions?
anyone have any questions about this?
And from what you do, this is the big chapter,
Right,
right, is
right,
land
right,
use. I mean,
right,
the power of the planning board is subdivision.
right.
All right, approved by the town of Plainfield, of the zoning ordinances.
All right, want to go to energy?
And we have an awesome energy committee.
The Energy Committee really wrote this chapter for us.
Mm-hmm.
It has the most. It has a lot of information in it. It has a lot of recommendations, some of which have been met already and or are in the process of being met in terms of energy efficiency. But there's a lot of information about utilities, how people are, what people are getting there. What are they paying for their electricity? What are their sources of energy for their homes?
It's very deep in data. I mean,
It's very deep in data. I don't really
I mean,
feel like we need to go through it all.
we are a ready for 100 town.
Right.
We have done the
Right.
the low hanging stuff.
Right, and that, we'll see when we get down to the recommendations.
We think we are in the process, whether you think it's a good thing or not, depends on your views. We are about to get 5 acres of solar panels on Stage Road.
Right,
We keep waiting for it to start and it hasn't, which
Has anything changed with that? Something popped up on the registry of deeds that was like,
Galloway's.
Across from these trees, where they used to have the trees up there.
Yeah,
Well, they still have some of the trees
they
up
do,
there.
yeah.
But
Dennis Rice to the point.
Yep, yep.
Essentially,
Yep.
is, and not the whole field. I mean, the Shalloways have at least 5 acres for Kearsarge Energy, which would be a 1 megawatt. I think it's just under a 1 megawatt for.
We're supposed to
Maintain
do,
that.
Right.
plantings to.
yeah, interesting, the electricity demand has actually dropped.
I can't do that.
Right, and it turns out this is the Achilles heel of the country, right?
Right,
We want,
There doesn't
we want
like-
e-vehicles and
But we're
e-everything and data centers, and we have no grid to provide all that.
right, right. Let's keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay. This is data rich, you're right.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a very involved chapter. There's a lot of work that went into.
I know, give them
compiling this.
credit, they really did,
Yeah.
put a lot of work
Did a
into
good
this.
job,
And references.
and we're very grateful
Oh,
that
would
they
you love-
took care of it for us. In the same way, we're grateful to the
I'm a little scared to
Conservation
do this,
Commission
but I
for
did
doing
it.
that natural resource survey.
This is probably. Cordwood.
And you gotta move the bottom bar to the right to see the rest of it, maybe. No, yes, you got it.
how do you read this, Claire?
I guess it tells us. The group of Well, each fuel, how it's divided amongst as a percentage.
But
Fuels used to heat homes in Plainfield.
Mixed fuel on heating.
You can ask Evan to explain it.
Okay, well,
And see, Evan.
2D page.
Yeah.
I knew that was gonna be at 92. Oh, there we go. We have tried to get the road agent interested in an electric truck or an electric car. He has acquired an electric chainsaw, which they like better than they thought they would. But
It's a step.
it's a small step. I think the worry about electric plow trucks, of course, is the same as you'd expect, is that how will they perform at 20 below?
mhm,
And is there a way to make that better? We have changed out a bunch of our old diesel trucks to newer improved diesel, which is taking advantage of a program at the state level, which pays for 3/4 of the vehicle. And so we've done that 3 times now. How many miles are we driving by household? That'd be kind of fun. Wow, 15,000 more we'd like to drive.
we have to
Well,
drive, it takes.
right,
Right.
Must
Right.
love.
exactly.
Come on.
All right,
That's
let's
true.
keep going.
That's true. Tells us 72% of the town does not have one vehicle. Getting people to do better jobs in their homes is the first step.
Mhm, mhm.
We've heard that for forever. And it's true.
Is there still state support for that?
For that,
For improving
Weatherization.
insulation in your house and landscaping?
those seem to have come and gone, both in Vermont and New Hampshire,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, there's weatherization funds available through the, Southwestern
Community,
Fuel Assistance,
yeah,
yeah. It varies from project to project, but there's monies out there to help low-income residents improve the weatherization of their house.
And the new thing now is sled abatement kind of stuff, that's the new helping phase of things.
If you know Evan, you know he puts a lot
Wow,
in.
he was very thorough,
Well, it is his passion.
yeah.
so here we go for recommendations, there are a lot of recommendations.
Whoops, no mistake.
Yeah, I think,
Our school, of course, was a shining example of went to heat pumps
right,
long before people knew what a heat pump was.
So when I was on the co-op board, the gas was heading towards $4 a gallon also. Back in the early 2000s. And we talked about. Like a hub in different places, so instead of everybody driving to the co-op. Order and then come down to like. Paul
Right,
Yates place and be that like a CSA, you come pick up your order there.
mhm,
And that seemed to me would kind of fit like, instead of having a grocery store in town, we would at least have a
mhm.
grocery store come to the town and do that. Now that the gas has gone up to $4 a gallon again, we're a little more used to it. I don't like the frog in the water.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
But at that point, it was enough to start thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
And I-
no, it has amazed me how little of that has happened this time. Whether people believe this is short term. Or they're just, everything else costs so much that they figured gas ought to cost $4 a gallon too. But you've not seen, like, we haven't seen a big influx of EV cars in the town office in the last month or two. Or people generally complaining. I mean, you know, when the deli hit 470, that got people pretty hot. They were pretty excited about that, but $4 is the new norm, and that's a scary number.
Right,
And probably if Stephanie Shell were here, she would say for Plainfield seniors, you know, nowhere else in the country do we depend on fuel oil like we do in the Northeast, right?
right.
Get somebody from out of town. The New Hampshire broadband guys were from Georgia, and they're like,
Yeah.
what are those pipes on your house? What's that?
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's where the guy brings me fuel oil to keep me warm in the winter. What the hell is that? I mean, so fuel oil is unknown, right? And we have residents that are facing $4 a gallon,
Mhm.
maybe $4.50 or a gallon this winter.
Right.
I mean, it's good. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
when it gets to be cold, and energy, you know, people will react, they should, you know, they'll use less, they'll look at other sources, they'll make their houses tighter, but boy, is that gonna hurt. And I don't think propane's a lot better, less BTUs. But the cost is still very high. And apparently nowhere else but in the Northeast, do you pay what we pay for electricity.
Right,
Right, we are very expensive for electricity. So even,
Yeah, and for gas, because the LP gas. Because we don't have the volume that we do.
You know, natural gas.
on the other hand, whole blocks don't blow up every now and then, which is nice.
Okay, that's true.
Which is nice,
The
but
fair trail.
Do we still have people on Zoom?
we may have, we have, I'm gonna stop the share,
That
let's,
number has reduced.
let's see. Oh, we got a few. We got a few. It's all right.
There's troopers.
That answer.
So, now let's ask if we've got any comments or things or concerns that from the true. The true participants here that have stuck with us. Mighty quiet group.
I mean, I would say in a nutshell, we didn't learn anything particularly dramatic about Plainfields and Plainfield Vermont's, other than the aging and population trends.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
It is bad.
I actually do have a question, and that is that if I have any feedback, like I've got some spelling corrections, and some things that I think should be added, minor things, do I just mail them to you? One of
Email
the
them.
things, yeah, one of the things that I did want to bring up though was that, from the historic resources standpoint, when we apply for grants for the Plainfield Town Hall and the stage set, we have to send the section on historic resources and sometimes facilities to get the grant. And so there's a few things that I would like to suggest in there having to do with heritage tourism in the historic resources.
I think it's great. I think it would be great if it makes it so that they can more easily get grant money
Yeah,
to
right.
maintain the
Yeah.
historic sites.
Right.
I think it makes a world of sense.
And the other thing was, we mentioned the national list of historic, the register, but there's also a state list of historic places as well that people can apply for. So I thought that should be mentioned.
So
And
is it a
then there
web,
was, go ahead.
is it a web link?
There are web links, and that was one of the questions I had in one of the sections. You had a reference to, I think it was a 1987 master plan, and I wondered if there was a link to that. And that was in the historic resources, I think. But there were a couple of places where there were misspellings. Parish's name was spelled 3 different or 4 different ways. And
Well, one of them
I
must
just,
be
you
right.
know, things like that that just kind of stuck out at me. And then in the facilities section, one of the other things that we've seen an increase, besides events, is rentals. We have a wedding there this weekend. This is our either a second or a third wedding this year. And one other thing came up under facilities. You had in there that the facilities manager was part-time and then full-time, but that was a contracted position at part-time. I don't think it was a town employee, and I wondered if that should be added, the fact that it was a contracted part-time position.
Previously,
Yeah, so,
not currently.
yeah. And where
Right.
should I email these comments to?
You can send them to me and I'll send them to Jane and the rest of the board members.
Okay,
And
Thank you, Beth.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Beth.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Margaret.
All right, so we'll meet, a couple quick things. If we can get off master plan.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not adopting tonight, we'll make
Right,
some
we'll
changes.
make a little change.
Take And so we'll get Bev's comments and anybody else's that comes in the next few days, bring it to the board at the September meeting. The Regional Planning Commission has the new law books out, you know, the
Right.
condensed law book that. And there's an option now, you can have a book only. An ebook only, or a print in an ebook. And so, if the book only is $12, the ebook is $12, and if you want both, it's $18. And town pays for it, of course, I'm not suggesting otherwise. The question is, I mean, the zoning board, for instance, wanted 3 digitals and 2 paper. And so the question is, do you really want it so you can load it on your iPad and bring it and keep it close to, or do you want the book to put in the drawer right next to the Bible? And so
The
it's,
book.
so book.
Yeah,
Well,
I want digital because I can include it with our other documents. And we can all of a sudden search and match and see if we're.
Right, I think we need both.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no digital, I'm just saying.
But you'd have a book. I mean, I'm talking about individuals. You'd like a book, you'd like digital.
And the others are ducking their heads. They don't want either one.
I like to have, I would prefer both.
Okay, so this is book. And this is digital. Okay.
What, I'm not familiar with this document.
It's a book about, I can get you one.
Yeah.
We'll study the.
All
I got one on from earlier 20s. It's about that thick.
Condenses all the land use books into
Yeah, I
one.
can't figure
Yeah.
out.
It's a white cover and like,
I don't know if it's white.
You know, it wasn't. It wasn't.
That's the size of the book you're talking about. It's a paper
yeah,
book
that,
Oh,
of about that size that has all the land use.
I do
And
know
and they
that.
update it every couple of years or as required by changes in the statute.
These are just all the RSA's.
Yeah, that are specific to planning and zoning. And you might get some of the basic selectmen ones, you know, officers of the town, but. There's nothing in it about motor vehicle registrations or any of those things, it's just land use.
What do you think?
I'm going all digital.
He's-
All digital.
I knew that was gonna be the.
Yeah, I guess I'm digital too.
Okay. Got it. And do you want to approve minutes, or you'll do that next time?
No, let's do it.
It's little tiny ones, I mean, it's just basically,
I didn't see anything.
it's
when I
just
looked at it.
basically worked on master plan, went home.
Yeah. And oddly enough, it'll be the same thing tonight. Worked on master plan, well,
Right.
it was just 2 hours of working on master plan.
I've got a couple of quick things when we're done, that's.
Yeah.
One of the planning board related.
Yeah, we'll show it to you.
Looks okay to me.
The only thing I see is in line 30, I think you need a slash between and or.
Okay,
I can add a slash. We gotta get rid of the draft anyway, so, okay, good. Oh, and I need your signature, Jane.
I make a motion, maybe approved as amended. Is there a second?
Have you? You don't get a permit from the state for his lumber.
Talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote. Did we vote?
Yes, everyone. Okay, let's talk about
Okay.
that.
Well,
What are you
yeah,
talking about?
so I got, I think, three things, maybe hoping quick things. One, so the first thing is the Donnie Goodwin subdivision is potentially forthcoming. That's, he contacted me about wanting to turn that, you're all familiar with which property he bought?
On 120,
So he called me up,
120, no.
right at the
On
120,
120,
the
at the-
line, the
yeah.
old sawmill.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
I was
I'm
wondering
glad.
who was doing that.
yeah, so he called me up, because I guess you sent them my way, presumably.
Well, I went, well, there's two levels.
Yeah.
He pulled an intent to cut the log, and he made it an access onto 120, which he
Me
usually
too.
would do with the state.
Yeah,
And then two, he's going to divide the house side into two lots using the same curb cut. And I told him, you gotta, to do that, you need to check with the state, because it's a change of use. There are two residents where it used to serve one.
right,
So that's how, he didn't go to you from us because of the intent to cut,
right.
but he went to you because of the potential subdivision that'll come in for September.
He called me saying he wasn't changing anything, he wasn't digging anything, it was all just paperwork to go single family to shared driveway. And then I see he's got now two very large log landings filled in the right of way with crushed stone and, you know, so he doesn't have any approval for any of that.
See, and I'm shocked that he's logged on state roads before.
Yeah,
So his subdivision involves the existing driveway, but he's doing first, cause he learned from his uncle.
Right.
The first thing he's doing is taking the wood off. And so he has, I think, people thought it was the new tower going up. You know, it was the access road
Okay.
for the new tower, which you haven't even talked about yet, or we'll do a site plan eventually. So you'll catch up with him, I mean, I assume somebody from the state catches up with him on his access, cause the thing he took Derby Lane in Lebanon and turned it into a gravel road. They brought so much mud down the hill. It was crazy. I can't believe Lebanon didn't say, you gotta put some rock in there, you gotta do something. But, you know, he basically bulldozed onto 120 and is cutting lumber. So Ross's crew will catch up with him for that. But his house is, he says those are temporary to be grassed. I think on the other side of the road, he's leaving the bridge. He bought a bridge. You know, the old sawmill where there used to
Yeah,
be like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
big-
yeah, yeah.
So he has to go over it's only 9 acres on that side of the road. But he has to go over Great Brook to pull the timber off.
Well, if
And
he's
so-
not doing an actual driveway there, if he's saying, oh, no, we're gonna grass it over, then why did he put those two obviously placed boulders on the edges of where that opening?
I'm just telling you what he's told Ross and I.
I'm just saying what I
But
saw.
on the,
we'll want those moved too, because those are in the right, those are in the clear zone,
Well-
they're hazards.
Yeah,
So-
but the sawmill side, I have not seen this thing, but he has bought a bridge. 30-40 grand. That he's gonna plunk down over Great Brook to be able to get his lumber off. And then he has indicated to the town office, he's gonna leave the bridge. For the residential service for the house that will be on that side. So the 9 acre lot, if you're going up, if Lebanon's a TV, the 9 acre lot with the old sawmill. Doesn't need a subdivision, it's a separate lot, he just thinks the house site is on the other side of Great Brook. So he's gonna leave this bridge, I don't know what this bridge is, but it's what he says. The house side, when he gets done logging, if you believe him. That access goes away and the two lots that he's proposing. One will have the existing house, one will have 11 or 12 acres. Of undeveloped land, will use the same driveway as the house. I don't quite understand that because the driveway for the house kind of goes to a garage and goes to their house. How's it getting up onto the 11 acres? But we haven't seen any plans from Donnie. You know, he has a little map that he thought would be good enough. And I said, that's not good enough. You've gotta make an application for subdivision. And so he's off doing that now. But I expected that he had gone to the state, because he's only done this 1,000 times, that he'd gone to the state to get permission for his log access. But I did not ever see a permit come in from the state that said, you know, temporary access for logging, here's the requirements.
Right. I guess they're gonna be done logging before we even get them on the phone.
Well, to catch up about it, but the house in theory is, the two lots on the house side is to use the existing curb. Would that need a permit from the state?
Which one, where the sawmill was?
No, where the house is, you know, if I have an existing driveway and I add another lot in a house.
Yes.
Do I need to modify my permit? Okay,
It's
so
it's a change of use.
Mhm.
That would be permitted as a single family
right,
residence.
well, that's what I told him, he didn't like it, and I said, well, call Ross Flood, because that's what I do with people on the state side. So he, but Donnie plays dumb on these things,
Yes,
right?
he does. Oh, my God.
And he's not dumb,
He's not.
he knows
He
exactly
knows
what he's.
Exactly what he's doing.
What's the second thing?
So the other one is, the new property owners of 00 Freeman Road. It's
The little lot at the bottom,
the quarter acre lot.
right there by town line, right there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, so they contacted me this summer saying that they needed a driveway permit on Stage Road.
on 12A.
Okay.
Excuse me, 12A, yeah, sorry, 12A. And I told him, I said, here's our website, fill an application and we'll start the process. And I said, however, like, have you considered putting your driveway on Freeman Road where there's no ravine, no guardrail, no 50-mile-an-hour curve, you know? There's parts of Freeman Road that have no ditch that they could just go right in on the old discontinued 12A.
Right.
She said that the town told her her driveway has to be 100 feet away from 12A and that she doesn't have 100 feet of frontage. So that she said that was a dead end. And I said, well, we've got the same rules for the state. You can't be 200 feet from Freeman Road. Well, their frontage isn't even 200 feet. So I've got a meeting, a work meeting or DOT meeting tomorrow to discuss this, but I also wanted to raise it up here that has she been talking to any, like the road agent or?
No, they
You
talked,
or-
they called us in the winter, and, you know, it is. Freeman Road, as you know, has some problems with a bus. There's a bus collective, I mean, apparently kids don't get picked up at their houses anymore, they get picked up at locations. And so there is one of those which is already a nightmare. And so, you know, I mean, being a good municipal official, I said, go see the state. You can't get right there on Freeman Road, you're gonna be reckoning the kids and parents parking their cars for the bus stop. And so I think the reality is the more proper place for the driveway is gonna be Freeman Road, and it might eliminate the bus stop that nobody likes. And except for the school, but I've not heard a word from her in 6 months.
Okay.
It's a horrible lot, but they paid $24,000 for it.
And they're gonna build on it?
I don't know.
They want a driveway.
I mean, they bought it, right? They bought it from the heirs of Dick Reed.
Yeah,
And he won in a poker game or something. I don't have any idea how he got that piece of land. It's an orphan.
It's left over when they relocated 12A.
okay, yeah.
It usually when there's little pieces like that, they just get absorbed into the right of way because it's recognized, there's no use of it. In fact, I think there's a little funny triangle if you look on the tax map that was, it's 12A right of way because it was a little sliver of something. Why this one didn't also get included in that, I don't know, but I guess quarter acre is nothing to sneeze at. But I don't know what if it's developable.
And it's in the VR zone, right? We extended the VR zone all the way to town line.
Right.
I mean, the reality, Ross, is that if they're serious and you're just kind of smoking them out and seeing if they're serious or not. The driveway belongs on Freeman Road, not on 12A. You get killed on that corner of 12A.
Well, that's what I don't get is she keeps coming to me about wanting a state or 12A driveway, but to break the guardrail, like, we're not gonna change the guardrail for them. And to break the guardrail, you'd have to put those crash attenuators on it. Each one of those, it's probably more now, but last time I did it, each one of those is $10,000.
Holy shit, when Jeff Albright wanted us to put them on the bridges, they were $2,500 a piece, we said no.
Well,
Holy shit.
oh,
So yes, I think, I mean. If you guys deny her or make it so impossible she can't do it, then she'll come back to the town and I mean, the reality is you're faced with this lot that has frontage on 2 rights of way, 2 public roads. Whether you like it or not, you recognize it as a lot, you gotta give her access somewhere.
right.
Right, she's gotta have, and the safer access is Freeman Road, and maybe it solves the school bus problem. Because if people, right now, the problem with the school is unbeknownst to us, why? The school department puts the bus stop on that corner on 12A, the bus stops right there. So cars coming north going 50 miles an hour, all of a sudden come around the corner and they're like, holy shit, there's a bus stop. The parents all line up on Freeman Road, right? So they park and they wait, or they drop the kid off, they hold the kid till the bus comes, whatever they do. And then on this icy morning, people come down Freeman Road and they're like, holy Christ, I'm gonna run into a pile of cars. Because
Or
they're
a
all,
pile of kids.
they're all parked off to the side of the road. We have offered the school to make the turnaround on Carville Lane. Just go down River Road, back into Carville Lane. Pick all you kids up you want there, and there's no one around. 12A is a shit show in the morning. You don't need so I don't, but the school has repeatedly said no. That's where the bus stop needs to be. But maybe the driveway there will put an end to it.
I think the other problem with the driveway is, she said something about, utilities. I think the power, there's a telephone pole right there, and I think it's got guide cables all coming off of it,
Right.
and that's probably right smack in the middle.
Middle of where she needs to be.
Yeah.
And the reality is she got a $24,000 lot in town Plainfield for a reason. And she's gonna have to spend some money and, move the utilities. But I have literally, like, she called 3 times that week and then never heard from her again. And so I was kind of hoping that divorce had settled in, or they had moved or sold or whatever, because, I mean, it should have been, I thought Walker would buy it.
Yeah.
Just to fatten up his land a little bit, or just to own it, but no, it's 24 grand.
I almost bought it just so
Right.
we wouldn't be here talking about this.
Do you have any idea how Dick ever came? Was there Reed property there?
Yeah, I've got all the deed history.
I don't know. I think so, but I don't know.
I mean, we didn't even know we owned it. I mean, it's just a little, the town didn't tax it for, I mean, it isn't worth very much. But all of a sudden in this housing market, and other people, to your point, say a quarter acre. Fill it up and it's a nice little house spot. What's it gonna hurt? I mean, there's other houses right in the neighborhood, but they should come on to Freeman Road. I mean, that's where it should come. You can't. I mean, at least there they have a chance to get onto 12A in the same way everybody else does, as opposed to, what are you gonna do? Look, see who's coming down Freeman, 12A, back down 12A. I mean,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
At best.
Did you have one more thing?
I have one more, I think. No, I think that's it.
And you do have a cell tower coming on, well, maybe not, but it got approved at the zoning board level for Green's property on Stagecoach Road in East Plainfield, 120 feet.
yeah.
And the neighbors, and I don't know what the answer is, I think I know the answer, but the neighbors are gonna bitch and complain that the road is discontinued past the maintained portion. And so Don Can, who hates Phil Green, hates him because they did business together, and obviously didn't go well. I remember the elk business, Moon Ridge Elk. or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And so they were marketing, they were killing elk and processing them and selling the meat, but they had elk and it didn't go good. Don Can does not want Phil Green to have this cell tower, no matter what. And he says, I own half the road, you can't use my half. But the reality is, I think the law is gonna say, if their property depends on that access, the owners of that property and the assigns of that property get to use it. I can't use it. It's not a public road. But if you need it to access your property, you get to use it.
Mhm.
And so I think Don Can would like to bluff them, but this guy's got a pretty good attorney, the tower company there. So access will be a big issue, and whether or not you should have pine needles on it or brush, will be the big issues there.
Okay,
And the federal law has gotten a lot tougher since Beauty Hill. Like, essentially, the federal law is you have no local zoning ordinance if there's a coverage gap. Whatever you are not allowed to have a tower in the RC2 zone. This tower is in the RC2 zone. And then they said it doesn't matter. There is a gap in coverage in federal law, and the ZBA's got the heavy hitter. I mean, Matt Decker wrote a 9-page decision that would have cost the town of Plainfield $5,000 to have Barry write. And he did it because he's a member of our zoning board. He'd have charged Cornish $5 because he's their municipal attorney, but he happens to sit on our board, and he and Barry both agreed. we have no case, we will lose. So the only thing is, what can you do to mitigate the tower? And so the ZBA dropped it 10 feet to 120. But it sits, and we had, Matt Marazzo's house, the picture window. It looks like they built it like high court, so they could see the top of the tower. And the Marazzos are like, bring it on. We're using boosters now. We want the cell signal. We don't give a shit about that tower. It's way in the distance. We don't care. So, I mean, there's a place where somebody,
Right.
But it's a neighborhood. I mean, this has been one of those wine, cheese and cracker events in the neighborhood. They've been able to rally, protest, carry on. But the ones that have been most vocal aren't even affected visually by the tower because they're too close. Right? If you live right next to it, you can't see it. You crane your neck, but it is very visible from Methodist Hill. The folks on Methodist Hill, the folks at Croydon Turnpike, when they did the balloon test, and we won't have to do that again. They did a very detailed balloon test. The documents are on the town ZBA page, but they put the tower where the balloon was and did a very credible job. And so but we're waiting for them because I'm sure they'll wait 30 days to make sure there's no appeal to the ZBA from an abutter, and then they'll decide whether it's really a tower they want to build or not. I mean, they spent a bunch of money, literally Phil Green responded to a postcard in his mail. They sent postcards out to people in that area, and he responded and said, yeah, I'd take one of them. And so that's how it happened. Had he not seen it and thrown it out, he wouldn't have done it, but. And apparently there is, I don't drive that way talking on a cell phone, but apparently there is a coverage gap right there.
There's nothing on 120.
Calls drop right there.
What's happening with Ladue Tower? I think you told us once.
Right, surprisingly, nothing good happened there was slightly better Verizon service. There is a tower working, no site plan, no anything, because it's a 160-foot tower getting a box on the top, but it's there and working, and nearest I can tell, nobody thinks their cell phone is better than it used to be, but it's up and running. So it has, I don't know if any of you have Verizon service, but.
I do.
I've got, I
I'm
think,
in between.
I use Verizon, and we don't have a booster anymore. I have 4 bars.
So this would help with Brook Road? Presumably,
Presumably.
Which one?
the
Ladue.
Verizon Ladue Tower.
Yeah, Brook Road and probably over toward 91, but there must be all kinds of service over there.
Yeah, 91's pretty reliable.
There was a cheap one to put in because American Tower had resisted requests to put, it's a huge government structure, right? It stands, the devices that make it a cell tower don't compare. It's so big, that thing is huge. Flashing light, people hate it. Jesus, Peter Martin's been talking about chopping it down for 30 years. Because he looks at it, he did build his house, so he could see in his case, it blanks. It just really brings it on nicely. And so this one has no lights on, at 120, it's not required to have any lighting. I think this one has to blink because it's much closer to Lebanon Airport.
Yeah.
And that one's 160, that one's actually a pretty tall tower.
Yeah.
But it was news to us, it was not news to Matt Decker, but it was news to the ZBA that federal law just crushed them. Like, it just simply says your zoning ordinance doesn't exist. And so. We had one zoning board member that said, then let's just fight. I'll vote no, and if everybody else votes no's with me, they'll have to take us to court, but that was not the will of the board.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna party. Are you gonna be able to come on Thursday?
Oh, yeah, I did an RSVP. Yes, but my family's out of town, so we'll just.
Okay.
But you'll drink margaritas.
I'll drink for me and the kids.
Terrible accident by your place.
Oh.
To the Beauty Hill thing. That was bad. That was a really tough night.
The guy passed away.
Yeah, I just saw the state police
Which
update.
one? Passed away?
The guy that was hit by the kid.
Oh, man.
Well,
Wrong place, wrong time,
it was.
Yeah, I heard, yeah.
couldn't have.
I didn't,
The kid should
I
have just
didn't hear
hit a tree.
anything. I didn't hear siren.